A paleontologist named Ashley Ledger was at home getting ready for bed when her phone rang. One of her monitors at the construction site had found something in the dirt. She drove to Wilshire Boulevard, climbed down into the excavation pit, and after 15 hours of digging with her hands and small tools, she uncovered an intact skull of a juvenile Columbian mammoth. Both tusks were still attached. The skull weighed several hundred pounds. It had been sitting beneath one of the busiest streets in Los Angeles for roughly 10,000 years. The construction crew that found it was digging a subway station. The skull was named Hayden, after the actress Hayden Panettiere. It was carried 1 mile down Wilshire Boulevard to the La Brea Tar Pits and Museum, where it was placed in a glass-walled fossil lab for the public to watch as scientists cleaned and studied it. It was one of only about 30 mammoth specimens ever recovered in the entire Los Angeles area. It was nearly complete. It was pristine, and it was just the beginning. By the time the excavation was finished, more than 500 fossils had been pulled from beneath Wilshire Boulevard. Mammoths, mastodons, saber-toothed cats, dire wolves, giant ground sloths, camels, bison, ancient horses, rabbits, and the bones of creatures that had roamed the grasslands and forests of the Los Angeles basin 10,000 years ago, in the last ice age, long before the city existed, long before the road was paved, long before anyone knew what was underneath it. The fossils were found during the construction of the Purple Line extension, now called the D Line, a subway expansion that will eventually connect downtown Los Angeles to the west side through the Miracle Mile, Beverly Hills, Century City, and Westwood. The project began in 2014 and involves the excavation of 3 new underground stations along Wilshire Boulevard, one of the most congested and commercially dense corridors in the city. The engineers knew they would find fossils. The route of the Purple Line runs directly through the La Brea Formation, a geological layer of asphalt-saturated sediment that has been trapping and preserving animals for over 50,000 years. The La Brea Tar Pits, the most famous fossil site in North America, sit less than a mile from the Wilshire and La Brea station. Under California's strict environmental regulations, paleontologists are required to be present at construction sites in fossil-sensitive zones. Cogstone Resource Management, a paleontological consulting firm, was hired to staff all 3 station excavations with monitors who watched the dirt as it was moved, searching for any sign of bone, tooth, or preserved organic material. The system worked. Every time a monitor spotted something that might be a fossil, construction was temporarily diverted to another section of the excavation. The paleontologists moved in, cordoned off the area, and began extracting the specimen by hand, using brushes, picks, and plaster casts to stabilize fragile bones before removing them from the earth. The process could take hours or days depending on the size and condition of the find. Construction continued around them. The backhoes and the brushes worked side by side. The most productive site was the Wilshire and La Brea station, which sits at the eastern edge of the Miracle Mile, directly adjacent to the La Brea Tar Pits. This was not a surprise. The station is being dug through the same geological deposit that has been producing fossils at the tar pits for over a century. But what the subway excavation revealed, there was something the tar pits alone could not. It provided a window into what the Ice Age landscape looked like away from the tar seeps, in the open grasslands and woodlands where the animals actually lived rather than where they died. The La Brea tar pits are a death trap. They have been one for over 50,000 years. Crude oil seeps up along the 6th Street Fault from the Salt Lake oil field, which sits roughly 1,000 feet beneath the Miracle Mile district. When the oil reaches the surface, its lighter components evaporate, leaving behind thick, sticky asphalt that pools in shallow depressions and becomes covered by leaves, dust, and rainwater. To an animal approaching what appears to be a shallow puddle, the surface looks safe. It is not. Small animals step onto the asphalt and become stuck. Their struggles attract predators, saber-toothed cats, dire wolves, and American lions, which leap onto the trapped prey and become stuck themselves. The predators attract scavengers, vultures, condors, and coyotes, which land or step into the tar and join the dying. The cycle repeats for millennia. Over 1 million fossils have been recovered from the tar pits since scientific excavation began in 1913, representing at least 231 vertebrate species. Over 4,000 dire wolves alone have been pulled from the asphalt. The site is so productive that it was designated the type locality for the Rancolabrian land mammal age, meaning it is the reference point for all fossils found anywhere in North America from 240,000 to 11,000 years ago. The result is a fossil record dominated by carnivores. Over 70% of the mammals found at La Brea are predators, which is the opposite of what a normal ecosystem looks like. The tar pits preserve the drama of death. They do not preserve the ordinary rhythms of life. The subway fossils told a different story. The animals found beneath Wilshire Boulevard were not trapped in tar. They were living, dying, and being buried in the normal sedimentary processes of an open landscape. The species distribution was more balanced. Herbivores were better represented. The fossils provided a picture of what the entire Los Angeles basin looked like during the last ice age, not just the killing fields around the tar seeps. The assistant curator at the La Brea Tar Pits Museum described the subway finds as a complement to the tar pit's own collection. The tar pits show you how animals died. The subway shows you how they lived. The Ice Age. Los Angeles was unrecognizable. 10,000 years ago, the basin was covered in coastal sage scrub, chaparral, and mixed evergreen forest. Pine trees grew where palm trees stand today. The climate was cooler and wetter. Rivers and streams ran through the lowlands. Grasslands stretched across the valleys. And moving through this landscape were animals that most people associate with Africa or extinction, not with the intersection of Wilshire and La Brea. Columbian mammoths stood over 13 feet tall at the shoulder and weighed roughly 10 tons. They were larger than woolly mammoths and could not have survived in Los Angeles's current climate. But the cooler, wetter Ice Age conditions were ideal. Mastodons, shorter and stockier than mammoths, browsed in the forested areas. Saber-toothed cats, with upper canines that extended 7 inches beyond the jaw, hunted in packs. Dire wolves, heavier and more powerful than modern gray wolves, roamed in groups that could number in the dozens. Giant ground sloths, some weighing over a ton, moved slowly through the underbrush. 2 partial skeletons and a nearly complete skull of a giant ground sloth were recovered from the Purple Line excavation. One specimen, which included a nearly complete pelvis, was nicknamed Shakira by the paleontological team in honor of the Colombian artist famous for her hip movements. The pelvis was one of the best preserved ground sloth specimens ever found in the Los Angeles area. American lions, a fifth larger than modern African lions, stalked the open grasslands. Short-faced bears, taller than any bear alive today, dominated the food chain alongside the cats and wolves. Camels walked through the Los Angeles basin, not the humped dromedaries of the Middle East, but Camelops hesternus, an Ice Age species with longer limbs, knobbier knees, and a larger head than any modern camel. Camels originated in North America roughly 45 million years ago and only crossed to Asia via the Bering Land Bridge during the Pleistocene. The camels that exist in the Middle East and Africa today are descended from American immigrants. The camels found beneath Wilshire Boulevard were at home. They were the natives. Ancient horses grazed alongside the bison. Like camels, horses originated in North America and migrated to Asia before going extinct on the continent roughly 10,000 years ago. They did not return until the Spanish brought domesticated horses in the 16th century. The horse fossils found during the Purple Line excavation are among the rarest specimens recovered, as large horse bones are uncommon in the Los Angeles fossil record. All of these animals lived within walking distance of what is now one of the most densely developed urban corridors in the United States. They drank from streams that now run underground through storm drains. They grazed on grasslands that are now covered by shopping centers, apartment buildings, and 6 lanes of traffic. The ground they walked on is now 15 to 20 feet below the surface, buried under millennia of sediment and a century of urban development. The indigenous Tongva and Chumash peoples, who lived in the Los Angeles basin long before European contact, knew about the tar seeps. They used the asphalt to waterproof canoes, seal baskets, and mend pottery. The first written description of the tar pits came in 1769, when a Franciscan friar named Juan Crespi, traveling with the Portola expedition, recorded extensive bogs of tar in his diary. He wondered whether the black substance flowing from the earth might be the cause of the region's earthquakes. For the next century, ranchers who found bones in the asphalt assumed they belonged to cattle or wild animals that had wandered into the pits. It was not until 1901 that a geologist named W. W. Orcutt recognized the bones as fossils of extinct animals. The La Brea tar pits had been hiding in plain sight for thousands of years, and the city of Los Angeles was built directly on top of them. The paleontologists who staffed the Purple Line project were the latest in a long line. Scientists have been present at every Los Angeles subway excavation since the 1990s, when work began on the city's first metro line. The practice is mandated by California environmental law, but it has produced a body of paleontological data that no other transit system in the world can match. Every time Los Angeles digs a new subway station, it opens a new window into the Pleistocene, and the digging is not over. The Purple Line extension is being built in 3 phases. Phase 1, which includes the Wilshire and La Brea station where most of the fossils were found, opened in 2023. Phase 2, extending the line to Century City, is under construction. Phase 3 will reach Westwood and the VA hospital. Each phase passes through fossil-bearing sediment. Each station will require surface excavation through the same geological layers. The paleontologists are already embedded in the construction crews, watching the dirt, waiting for the next bone to appear. The fossils recovered from the Purple Line project will eventually be displayed at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County and the La Brea Tar Pits Museum. Hayden. The mammoth skull is already there, visible through the glass walls of the fossil lab, cleaned and mounted, staring out at visitors from behind a barrier that separates the present from the Pleistocene by roughly 10,000 years and 15 feet of compacted urban fill. The next time you drive along Wilshire Boulevard, through the Miracle Mile, past the museum and the tar pits and the construction barriers and the detour signs, imagine what the paleontologist said when asked about the scope of the discoveries beneath the road. She said they were getting a beautiful picture of the Ice Age here in Southern California. Everything from gophers to mammoths in size, camels and bison, horses and giant ground sloths, mammoths, mastodons, and even saber-toothed cats and dire wolves. All of it beneath a street that 400,000 cars drive over every day. All of it 10,000 years old, all of it waiting, as it has always been waiting, for someone to dig deep enough to find it. Los Angeles is building a subway. The subway keeps finding an ice age, and every station they dig opens a new page in a fossil record that stretches back 50,000 years, buried beneath a city that has only been here for 250. There is one more detail about the La Brea Formation that most people never hear. Among the millions of fossils recovered from the tar pits and the surrounding area, there is one human specimen. She is known as the La Brea Woman. Her partial skeleton was found in the tar pits and dated to approximately 9,000 years ago. She is one of the only confirmed Pleistocene-era human remains from the Los Angeles basin. She lived here when the mammoths were still alive. She walked the same ground. She may have hunted the same animals whose bones are now displayed in the museum beside hers. She was here before the city, before the road, before the subway, and now the subway is finding the world she lived in, one fossil at a time, 15 feet below a street that did not exist when she was alive. Thanks for watching. If you want to follow this kind of exploration, subscribe. There is more to come.